Thank you and welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of October 28th. Very good. Thank you and welcome to the Red Hook Town 20, and there's the echo once again. 2020. Would you all be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have a series of announcements this evening. I think we will start with election news or voting news. Matt Fenaroli this evening will be working our slides for us. Matt, would you be kind enough to put up for the folks the remainder of the early voting dates and times and locations for the public, please? Okay, so there are 5 locations in Dutchess County. You can early vote at any one of these locations. Early voting is from tomorrow until Sunday at 5 p.m. Here are the remaining dates and times for you. And then, of course, we have on Election Day voting hours. In order to find out where you're voting on Election Day, you will need to know which election district you are in. So to try to help you, and we have all this information on the town website. Matt, would you show the folks at home our election district map for the town of Red Hook? And all of this is determined by Dutchess County, the Board of Elections. Okay, very good. So you can see, I hope the folks at home can see clearly. Election District 1 is essentially Tivoli. 4 and 8 are the village of Red Hook. And then you see the various districts. A large portion of the northern part of town is Election District 3. The eastern portion and southeastern portion is Election District 6. I can't speak this evening. Most of the western portion of town is Election District 5, south of Tivoli. And then the southern middle portion of town is Election District 7. Excuse me, Election District 2 is mostly Linden Acres and College Park. So you probably would like to know what the locations are. They are, for the most part, for at least 5 districts, they are the same sites that you generally vote in for the general election. There are, however, been changes to 3 of those districts. So Matt, if you'd be kind enough to share the screen with a list of the locations for the various election districts, please. You will see, we'll start at the bottom of the list, election districts 7 and 8. Again, that's 7 is the southwest portion of our township. That's Forest Park, and everywhere in the southern area. And District 8, which is closer to the village and including the village. That has been moved from the usual location, which is Town Hall, to the Linden Avenue Middle School gym. And so we want to let you know that. We have signage that's already up at Town Hall. There's signage around town. I think we have a dozen signs alerting our residents to that change in polling location. So if you normally vote at Town Hall, you'll be voting at the Linden Avenue Middle School gym. There has been some legal decisions coming down with regard to Election District 5. That is typically held at the space St. John's Episcopal Church in Barrytown. You may have read just the other day or received one of our notifications that Supreme Court Justice Rosa ordered the District 5 polling site to be moved to the Bard College campus. My understanding is at the moment that there is discussion and a settlement to have a polling site at both Bard College at the Bertelsmann Campus Center and at St. John's Episcopal Church. And if you are an elector of the 5th District, you could vote at either one of those locations. And so some of you may be familiar with St. John's if you voted there in election District 5. That is very close to the intersection at Barrytown as you approach Barrytown on River Road. And many of you are familiar with the Bard College Campus Center. Multi-purpose room is what it's referred to. If you are not, we would like to just show for you tonight for a moment, and we will have on our website a map of Bard College. And Matt, if you'd be kind enough to share that screen as well. Okay. And I think we should load that up for people as you come in River Road. Okay. Very good. And yep, you're highlighting there. Matt's got his little, can you shake your arrow there? Okay. So if you're headed towards the gym, right before you get to the parking lot, if you're headed from the south, there's a big parking area. I think number 5 is the parking area. Is that right? Opposite the gym where the Klein dining area is. Matt, can you wiggle over by 5? If you're coming from the south and you've made it that far to the gym, you've gone too far. You need to make a left here on North Ravine Road. There's a couple of parking lots associated with the multi-purpose room at Bard College. So that's my understanding, is that they have negotiated or are negotiating a settlement to have both locations. I would ask you to please, again, sign up for notifications on our town website so you can be kept abreast of this situation and any other matters that are important to you, topics that you select that you would like to be communicated with. All right. What else do we have for announcements? We would like to let you know that after a couple years of hard work, that our project to replace the streetlights in the town of Red Hook will begin next week. Our contractor informs us. So if you see crews messing around with the streetlights, you'll know that's what they're doing. Again, we expect to see fairly significant savings, both from a financial and an environmental impact once that project is concluded. And we can reasonably expect that project to go on, weather permitting, until the end of the year. It should be a 6 to 8 week time period. Okay, any other announcements that we have, Matt, that we would like to let folks know at home?
There's the COVID dashboard.
Yes, we wanted to give you an update on COVID in our immediate area. And so can we go to that? Again, this comes from Dutchess County. We are seeing positivity rates in our region of close to 2%. In Dutchess County, more specifically, it remains at 1%. We're seeing well over 1,000 tests conducted, by the way, each day for the last week in Dutchess County, and that positivity rate has stayed at right around 1%. So that's sort of good news. We'd like to let you know. Obviously, we don't need to tell you you're watching the news or reading the news, and you know that other areas of the country are experiencing significant spikes in the coronavirus. We will continue to keep Town Hall closed to the public. We are processing all of the documents, and within 24 hours. And so we will keep you posted as we progress through the winter time. So that is the COVID update that we have. We don't have any public comments this evening, so we'll go right into our agenda items. And we're going to skip ahead. Matt, if we could show the folks at home what our agenda looks like for this evening, please. Okay, we can blow that up just a little bit. And we'll focus on the items. There we go. We have some ministerial work approving a name, and then a road name, and then we are going to authorize acceptance of bids for some of our winter materials. We're going to extend the agreement for an additional year for the water system operator. We're going to hear very briefly from Bill Hamill, who's the liaison to the water department. A couple of highlights from the annual report from last year. We are going to start, however, with a discussion of an open development area application, and we'll ask our attorney to explain to the public what that is. We'll start with agenda item number 7. We'll also have a very brief update, not necessarily a discussion, but an update on the status of our local waterfront revitalization plan update. We're also going to continue to approve 239 referral agreement extension with Dutchess County. And we are going to authorize the issuance of refunding bonds in the town of Red Hook. More specifically for the public, the financing that we took out on the highway garage, we have an opportunity to refinance that, much like you have an opportunity to refinance your home mortgage. And we estimate that we can save the town an additional $100,000 plus if interest rates remain at the level that they are now. So very good. Let's go ahead and start with item number 7. All right. I hear a lot of typing. Who's typing?
Did you want me to weigh in, or did you want to hear from your?
No, I think we're going to hear from Chris first.
Okay.
Warren Raplansky,
That's fine.
Attorney for the applicant.
Yeah.
Chris Shaw, would you be kind enough to just briefly explain to the public what an open development area is? You're muted, Christine.
Thank you. An open development area is something that is permitted to be done by the town board by resolution. It allows access to be provided through a right-of-way rather than, as would normally be the case, through a dedicated road or town road. Properties are required to have access in order to obtain a building permit. So this property has access onto Westview Lane. It was created quite some time ago, and I expect Warren will, it has access onto Reed Road. You're familiar with Reed Road. And I imagine Warren will go into this in a little more detail in terms of the other properties that front on this, but some years ago, several different lots were created which front on a private driveway known as Westview Lane. It certainly precedes my history with the town, so it's at least that old, and I believe it's quite a bit older than that. So this particular property is actually a property that fronts on Reed Road, but the owner would like to construct a house with access, not via, with his driveway, not via Reed Road, but rather using this existing Westview Lane, which again is not a road, not built to road standards. Under Section 288 of the town law, we are required to refer the consideration of an ODA to the planning board for their advice before we consider it. So the town board referred this to the planning board. The planning board came back with recommendations. The standard, there's not a specific criteria for the approval of a road, but considerations would include certainly the items that the planning board brought forward, potential environmental impacts, whether access would be sufficient to ensure ingress and egress of emergency vehicles. Those are important considerations in determining whether or not to establish an ODA. And I think I will ask Warren to review the map here and to point out the other properties that are currently accessing Reed Road already. And then we can get into the reviewing the planning board recommendations.
Sure. Do you have that map?
The map is in the materials. So Matt, can you move to that, please? I think it'd be helpful to go through the map first before we go back to the planning board.
Yeah, I think the parcel access map is probably the best one to use. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not in color, so it's hard to read. So I think Chris has explained it pretty well. Like 280A is one of the more esoteric sections of the town law, and I, as a municipal attorney, have tried to grapple with 280A4 of the town law. But basically, Chris described it correctly. It's a provision of the town law which allows a parcel to be accessed rather than direct access to a public road via a right-of-way, a deeded right-of-way. That's the reason why my client is requesting this. My clients, they have a 2-acre parcel that does have direct frontage on Reed Road, as you can see, and they do have 175 feet of road frontage. The problem is that for them to access the house, the residence that they want to build on that property, would require blasting and some significant construction costs to put a driveway in directly on Reed Road. In addition, we think that the town would probably prefer to minimize the points of access on Reed Road. So if my clients could access over Westview Lane, it would be better for the town and certainly better for my client. So we made the 280A application in order to allow my clients to access the house that will be built on Reed Road. The access point would be approximately 130 feet from Reed Road and then would veer into the property. And currently, and it's hard to see on this map, there are several other parcels that utilize Westview Lane for access. And these parcels were created quite some time ago. They were created, give me a second, they were created by a deed of Morton L. Finger, dated September 10th, 1956. And when the Fingers created this right-of-way access, they created this right-of-way to allow any properties that adjoin that right-of-way to access over that right-of-way, which has happened. There are currently 3 other parcels that, in addition to this parcel, that access their properties on off of Westview Lane. One is a 1.1 acre parcel, and that's in private ownership by, I believe, I'm not sure who the owner is. It's not my client. The other is another 1.1 acre parcel right there. You've got it a little higher, which is owned by my client. Both of those are improved by single family residences. And then there's a third vacant parcel, the 10 acre parcel, which does not have a residence on it. That's also owned by my client. But all of those parcels currently access Reed Road via Westview Lane. And building
Warren,
permits.
Could I just interrupt for a minute? I just want to clarify though that isn't the 5 point whatever acre parcel also accessing via Westview Lane?
No, they have their own driveway.
Straight out. And then what about those? So the two parcels, the two 1.1 acre parcels, and then the 11.11 acre parcel and the 10.95 acre parcel?
We don't know. I don't think they utilize Westview Lane to access the parcel. I think there's another. Oh, wait a second. Hold on, just a minute. Let me look at my.
I thought both of those old farm parcels accessed via Westview Lane.
Yeah.
Don't the Currens own both of those, Warren?
Yeah, the Currens own the 1.1 acre parcel and the 10 acre parcel. They don't own the 11.11 acre parcel. And I don't think that parcel utilizes Westview Lane. I think the actual access stops at the point of that, the entrance to that parcel, and they access from another point. We have nothing to do with that piece of property. But over the years, building permits have been issued by the building inspector for the town for residences on the 1.1 acre parcel and the two 1.1 acre parcels. Let me see, I might be wrong. I apologize. The 834793 does have a single, that also accesses, I'm sorry, that's the third parcel that has a residence, and that is also owned by my client. I apologize.
So there are 4 parcels that are currently accessing via Westview Lane, and this would be number 5.
4 parcels, but only 3 residences.
Well, okay.
So this would be the 4th residence that would access. The 10.9 acre parcel does not have a residence on it. My client has no current plans to construct a residence and on that property.
And what is the current use of that parcel?
I think it's just a vacant land. It could be farmed, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. So the open development area statute does not prescribe any particular quality of access, only that the access be suitable and provide safe access for emergency vehicles, which this Westview Lane has provided for many years to the parcels. I don't know if I gave you the years, but single family residence was constructed on 799, 792 in 1970. A single family residence was constructed on 801817 in 1962, and a single family residence was constructed on 834793 in 1959. And no open development area permits were required at that time. I've sent 2 memos, one to the town board and one to the planning board, which I'm assuming will be part of the record. And we spent a considerable amount of time dealing with this issue before the planning board. And we have no problem with the planning board recommendation. In fact, the planning board indicates that it has no objection to the proposal that my client be permitted to access the parcel from Westview Lane. However, they do recommend that the Westview Lane be increased in width from its current width of 12 feet to 15 feet. And that's taken out of the town subdivision regulations. And those subdivision regulations were enacted in 1993, and all of these lots were created well prior to that time. And my client has not applied for a subdivision. So I don't know that those standards should be applied to this road. If my client has to increase the width of Westview Lane to 15 feet, that will be a considerable expense for my client, which we're trying to avoid by applying for the open development area in the first place. The road is currently paved. We provided you with photographs of the road. It's provided safe and reasonable access to these residences for many years without any difficulty. And again, I think the purpose of the open development area is simply to allow a property owner to access their property without having to construct a 15-foot road or something even wider or more formal. It's only prescribes that the town ensure that there be reasonable access as a means of coping with fires and other emergencies. It doesn't require any particular form of physical access, merely any reasonable means. And I provided you a decision law in the state of New York to support that. We would ask the board, the town board, and we know you're going to want to study this and you may have more questions, but we would ask the town board to adopt the recommendation of the planning board, but without the requirement that the right-of-way be improved and paved to 15 feet. That will be an extraordinary expense to my client. I'm not sure my client could undertake that. And it actually serves no purpose since the road as it right-of-way as currently exists has been a suitable and safe means of access to 3 residences for many, many years, existing prior to the town zoning law, in fact, and the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, can I just jump in? We kind of went into the weeds there on, trying to figure out which parcels were which, et cetera. So I just want to clarify for anybody who, watches this later. So, so the Currens currently own 801,817, right? That's 1.1 acres. And they also own the 10.95 acres
Correct.
up in the corner there. But okay. But the subject of this, where they want to build, is the one that's labeled 776,820.
Correct.
And it's shown as 2 acres on here, and in your application says 1.8. So, could have figured that out.
That's the parcel access.
Right.
Those are not always accurate, but I think
Exactly.
I think it might be 1.8 acres.
Right. So the question is, or the applicant wants to build on this lot, the 820 lot, which would be the 4th currently, right? Would become the 4th property with a residence on it that would access Westview Lane.
That's correct.
Okay. So you are, I think what you were saying is you're unclear about the property that's listed as 793,859. Whether they have access directly onto, they're using a driveway off of Reed Road.
Yeah, I think they have their own driveway. That's not part of this.
Right. Okay. And so you can't really see from this map, but my question is, Westview Lane, it's not a dead end, right? So are there parcels beyond the scope of this map that are currently also?
As far as I know, it doesn't access any other parcel. The parcel to the rear of that, I believe, accesses from another road. I think that's a large farm, if I remember correctly.
Okay, just to be clear on that.
It is a dead end, yeah.
Okay.
So I did look at this a while ago, but I do have a question. What's the zoning district that the parcel is in?
It must be R3 up there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And if it's R3, Are they grandfathered in some way to be able to build a house on something smaller than 3 acres?
Yeah, this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It existed prior to the creation of the zoning law.
So I guess I would note, however, that there is access on Reed Road, and when the property was created, there was access on Reed Road. So however that it may be difficult or expensive, it is possible. So this is a convenience, I want to be clear, that is being asked for.
It's not impossible. No, I did not represent that. It's
right.
It's a matter of,
well, that's a difference.
Right.
Right. It doesn't mean, it just means that those are factors to take into account.
Right.
And so then the other thing, just to clarify right now, is that the 10.95 acre piece that happens to be owned by the applicants right now does not have a house on it.
No,
and then the 11 plus or minus acre piece does have a house on it.
That's correct.
And so potentially the question would come up about 3 acre zoning, and when we used to deal with this a lot on the planning board, for these types of access or private roads, et cetera, and the limits on the number of residences that can be served. So, according to the planning board's letter, Westview Lane is considered a shared drive, essentially, and under current regulations can have 4 residences on it if it is not up to town standards. So just thinking about this into the future, so this would be, if we approve this would become the 4th residence that would access Westview Lane. And so in theory anyway, that would present an issue for anyone that wanted to ever build on the 10.95 acre piece, unless that has access to another road that we just can't tell on this map. Do you know?
We acknowledge that. You're absolutely correct.
Right. Okay. So the 10.9, we can't see here. So the 10.95 acre does not have access to another road on the other side or anything.
No, it does not. It does not. And that would, we acknowledge that would be an issue that my client or whoever owns that property in the future would have to deal with if they ever wanted to build. My client has no current plans to build on that property.
Okay.
Warren,
I just want to point out one other thing, that there is decisional law in New York State which says that even though you have the requisite frontage, and my client has more than enough frontage on Reed Road, my client is not foreclosed from seeking alternative access through an ODA. So you can have direct frontage and you can have ODA frontage, and that's been decided by I believe the Appellate Division 3rd Department.
Can see is possible. I just want to be clear.
It's possible.
Anything is possible.
Not mandated, but possible.
We acknowledge that. I mean, there's no question about it.
Okay.
But I think for the town, though, it makes sense to limit the number of road cuts that you have on Reed Road, so it's a benefit to the town also.
Matt,
so right now, then, it sounds like the applicants own 3 of the 5 parcels that would access Westview Lane were we to approve this, correct?
Correct.
Matt, could you blow it up a little bit more where 776-820 meets Reed Road? I'd like to see the road frontage if we could. Okay. It's a bit of a challenge to see where that line is. Can you highlight how much road frontage is there? Oh, it's from that point to that point.
That point, right?
175, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think isn't there a big ravine or something there, Warren?
Yeah, there's a real physical impediment to building it. Believe me, if it was an easy project to build the road directly, the driveway directly off Reed Road, my client would not be applying for this.
Yeah, if there are environmental considerations we should be aware of if blasting needs to happen or something like that, I think that would be important to get us that information. Also, did you speak, Warren, to the property owners? And Matt, could I ask you to come out a little bit? 799, 792, do you happen to know how they would feel about a fifth property being accessed off of Westview Lane?
I don't know. I did not speak to that property owner. I can't imagine the property owner would have any problem with that. But that property owner actually accesses the off Westview Lane. There's another road that goes. This is north to south, so this would be on the eastern portion of the 1.1 acre lots that goes into the 1.1 acre parcel. That's how that property owner accesses his property.
So that's a driveway,
Warren,
right?
Yeah.
That's a driveway, yes.
That would be a shared driveway, yeah.
Could I ask a question though? So
Sure.
Warren, apropos of who you've spoken to, when we have a driveway which has shared access, typically we are going to be looking for a maintenance agreement and an easement that give a clear right to the parties to the use of that area and an obligation on the part of those shared users to maintain the road. However they want to work out the allocation of that, we need to see that there is an agreement in place that allows that legal access. Is that something that's been worked out or that you would see as a condition to this request?
If you were to require a road maintenance agreement for Westview Lane, I would not be opposed to that.
So there isn't one in place right now. So
no, I mean, these things were created a long time ago.
Before zoning, right?
Before zoning.
But, I mean, so I guess I'm just wondering, does everybody chip in and get the road plowed in the wintertime, or?
I think they all participate. I think my client mainly assumes the responsibility for a good portion of that road. Well, and I don't think he would have any objection to maintaining, having the sole responsibility, at least for the 130-foot portion of that road until it veers off into his driveway. But I would understand if you wanted to require a road maintenance agreement, the idea being that you would ensure that the road is maintained. So it's conceivable my client may agree to maintain the entire road. I don't know.
And you may have, I think you did appear before the planning board to go over this.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So you forgive me if you've already had this discussion, but so the property where they're currently living, right, the 817 parcel?
No, they're living in the 793.
Oh, I thought he said it was 817. Okay.
No, my clients don't live in 793. No.
So they own 817. Yeah,
they don't own that parcel. 793.
Okay, so I guess my question is, there a shared driveway for those two 1.1 acre parcels, or do they each have their own driveway?
There is, they share Westview Lane. Everybody accesses off Westview Lane.
Right.
And then there's another driveway that proceeds south. Yeah, right there. That accesses both of those parcels, and there are deeded easements.
Okay, so those two parcels share that driveway. I guess I'm just wondering if there was any opportunity for the 820 parcel to share that driveway also, but I guess not. Okay.
No, we've thought of every other way of dealing with this.
Yeah. Okay.
The only way we can do this.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you have any other questions, and get back to me. It's my understanding you are not going to make a decision tonight. I'm not going to push you into doing that. But if you could let me know if you require any other additional information, I'll be happy to provide that for you.
Thank you, Warren. I know that I would like some photos maybe of the portion of Reed Road, so I can take a look at the road frontage that's allocated to that lot.
Sure.
And also the entrance. And I'm very familiar with the area. I've been down Westview Lane on several occasions. But I think it'd be important to see the environmental impact, because I think that's what you would ask us to weigh,
Right.
is sharing a roadway versus creating a new one.
Right. Yeah, just so you understand, if we get the open development area approval, we would not have to do any blasting and there would be no environmental impact.
Right.
There would be an environmental impact if we had to blast and create the driveway, but I'm not sure that wouldn't be considered a type 2 action under seeker. I don't know. I'd have to check the seeker regulation.
We are thinking of this as an unlisted action, and you filed an EAF, so the board would need to look at that.
Yeah.
Right, but we're not applying for the driveway off Reed Road. We're applying for the
Oh, you
shared
mean
driveway.
if it was the driveway? Yes, right, because it's an approved lot, right? So can I ask, have you or has the owner had any conversations with the emergency personnel, or have you looked at the driveway standards as opposed to the road standards that the town has?
We've looked at those standards. We have not had contact with the emergency personnel. We've had contact with the highway superintendent, who is, I think, fine with this. But if you would like, we can make contact with the fire department and have them come out and take a look at the road and make sure that the road has suitable access for emergency vehicles, if that's what you like.
I would ask the town board. I'm just raising some issues they might want to ask for. And in particular, with respect to the driveway, if, the driveway, I don't know how that apron works right now. I don't know how the drainage works right now. So it's just something that might want to be, that they might want to look at in terms of that being used for additional properties. And what is the right-of-way, the width of the right-of-way that either exists or is being proposed?
50 feet.
Okay. And the pavement area you said was, I think in another application you said it was 12 feet, is that right?
Yes, I had thought it was 15, but we measured it. It's might be a little bit more than 12.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think we've highlighted the issues, the questions. I think there is, certainly a desire to get some sort of agreement in place. As you highlighted, all of these lots were created, in fact, before the town of Red Hook had zoning or substantial zoning in the 1970s. And so we're left to consider something that is already created for us. I don't know that we would entertain a 5-lot common driveway were it to be a new subdivision, but the fact that these lots are already here and there may be some environmental benefit, we'll certainly take that into consideration. So whatever supporting materials you would like, it'd be great to hear from the highway superintendent. It'd be great to hear from the adjoining landowner at 799, 792. Right now is a really good time to get in place a common driveway agreement, since it seems to me that the Kerns own all of the frontage with Westview Lane. And, that may not always be the case.
Understood.
Okay. Any other questions for Warren or for Christine? Okay. Thank you very much, Warren.
Well, thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate your patience, and enjoy the rest of the meeting, and I'm going to leave.
Okay. Thanks. Stay healthy.
Bye-bye. You too.
Okay, very good. So let's jump back to agenda items number 1, 2, and 3. And Matt, if you'd be kind enough to blow up our resolutions. Very simply, we have a request to identify that there's no street name conflict with Barnstormer Lane. And that is for a small subdivision that was approved on Norton Road near 199. And we have the request from the property owner as well as a signed form by adjacent landowners to call this private road Barnstormer Lane. And so this is resolution number, Deanna?
48.
48. Thank you very much. Any questions before we entertain this? Okay. So I so move resolution 48, accepting the name Barnstormer Lane for the common drive located within the subdivision at Norton Road. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. All in favor? Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Bill Hamill.
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving right along, agenda item number 2, Matt. So we have 3 agenda items, all related. The folks at home should know that we go out to bid, request quotes or public bids on just about everything that we purchase on behalf of operations. And so the highway department has a very long list of materials that they utilize, and our highway superintendent coordinates all of the details associated with that, and reviews all of the bids that are made and comes back with the lowest price bid for each agenda item. And so we have a very long resolution number 49, which is authorizing the purchase of road services and materials pursuant to our town procurement policy. And this is for 2021. And it includes all items from topsoil to various crushed stones to gravel. Matt, if you could scroll down a little more. Okay, tree work that we have to conduct during the course of the year, cold mix for our runs, bank run gravel, item 4. And so any questions about this before we go ahead and approve the recommendations that have been forwarded to us, as well as the backup data by our highway superintendent? Okay. If not, I so move resolution number 49. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Aye.
Bill Hamill.
Aye.
Okay, very good. The resolution passes. We have a similar resolution.
Aye.
Christine, I'm so sorry. Okay. Resolution number 50. Okay, a similar resolution. It's for the purchase of hot mix asphalt, and the winning bidder is we had 2 bids on that one, Colarusso and Callanan Industries, and the winning bid was Colarusso and Son for item 1, dense base. And so I so move resolution number 50. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill O'Neill. Further discussion? If not, Christine Kane.
Aye.
Thank you. Bill Hamill.
Aye.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Resolution 51 is our last one, and there are the tabulations if you would like to look at them. All of this information is on our town website. This is for ice control abrasives for the highway department purposes. And the lowest responsible bid goes to Red Wing Properties. And so resolution 51, and I so move. Is there a second? Don't
Second.
everyone jump in. Thank you, Christine. All in favor, Bill O'Neill,
Aye.
Bill Hamill,
Aye.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we have next up on the agenda is an extension, a one-year extension of our water system operator agreement, BRI services. The Water Board is recommending that for 2021, we will in fact go ahead and exercise our right to extend it. They are making that recommendation. It's resolution number 52. And if there are no questions, I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Bill O'Neill. All in favor, Christine Kane.
Aye.
I'll be saying your name first from now on. Bill Hamill.
Aye.
Okay, Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, very good. We are now moving along to agenda item number 4. Very important topic, an annual report. For the folks at home, it's a very extensive report on the activities for the fiscal year 2019. A little bit late, this report from the Water District, but very extensive, and we recommend, if you have an interest, to read specifics. But Bill Hamill, would you be kind enough to maybe just highlight for a minute or two a couple of things that you would like the folks in the Water District to know?
Certainly. Well, the report is, as you said, extensive, and it gets into issues of operations and personnel and how things, and a lot of comparisons over time. But there are a couple things, and I got a few notes from Hank. They would like to, there have been a number of issues involving questionable readings on meters, and they seem to be the same meters. And we've been paying our meter readers an additional fee to go out and reread these, and they would like to actually just replace the, it has something to do with the probe, but they like to replace the meters so that they don't have to keep dealing with the probe and sending people out. And so they're looking at it from, I guess, a cost benefit analysis of replacing meters versus sending people out to re-inspect. One of the other issues is that we, the board, did approve a 5% increase on the cost for the year, but Hank would like to see us put that in place for 5% a year for the next 5 years, proactively. That's a request that he has asked in his notes regarding water rates. They're going to have the 5% increase was effective this past April, but he would rather, in his analysis, their financial analysis, to just do it every year for 5 years. They were able to correct an issue involving the ability to turn on and off the pumps from the well, and through a radio transmitter, and they found a workaround for the time being, and it seems to be working. Anything else? Water quality has remained very good. One of the things that he has a future considerations for us to think about in terms of, because there's costs associated with it, is looking to find alternatives to a large storage tank, and then develop some issues to monitor methods for leak detection, and whether there's going to need to be a water main replacement. And the last thing is whether we want to consider something called an AMR, which is an automatic meter reading, which is a technology that automatically reads the meters without having people to go to the residents and read it. As something to think about to sort of, I guess, upgrade the system. Everything else seems fairly stable. And then looking at the 5 years, 2015 through 19, looking at revenue, it fluctuates, but it's within a range. there's no real spikes or drop or valleys to speak of. And the last is in terms of money that that is excess goes into a reserve fund. And every year we transfer money to a reserve. There's a reconstruction reserve, there's a transmission reserve, and there's the, from the unreserved balance. And for this year, they have not yet made a transfer to any reserve. And they're going to have to meet, I guess, with Ann Conway soon to determine the ability to do that, because there is money that's excess that should be put into reserve funds. So that's really it.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. It's a lengthy document. I appreciate your picking up some highlights for the folks at home. Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda, Matt, is Christine Kane. Bill O'Neill, you've been working very hard on subcommittee LWRP update. It's a very lengthy document, sections 1 and 2. Won't ask you to speak to the content of it, but would either one of you be kind enough to give us an update on the status of the LWRP update?
I'll defer to Christine.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yes. So we do have sections 1 and 2 that have been. So this is an update of the existing LWRP that we have for the community, and we have a really great committee that's been working on this update. We have completed the changes to sections 1 and 2 and submitted those to the New York State Department of State for their review. So now we have to wait to hear back from them about that. There are also a number of maps that had to be updated and a couple added actually too. So now we have 8 maps that will accompany the new document. So those are also under review. And there's been no change proposed to the actual boundary of the local waterfront revitalization area in the town. So no change there, but so at this point, we are just waiting to hear back from New York State Department of State for their feedback on what we've submitted so far, and then we'll go from there based on the feedback we get from them. We have a budget for this project. We did receive a grant from the New York State Department of State to help cover the cost for this, and so far so good. On the budget, we are still under budget, and we think that we are going to be very close to expending the whole budget, and hopefully we won't need any extra funds, but that will really depend on, if we were to get very extensive comments, or if the Department of State really wanted a lot of changes to the maps, for instance, then we might have an issue with that. But right now, it looks pretty good for finishing the project with the budget we have.
Very good. Thank you, Christine. And thank the committee for all their good work on it. And for board members, any input you have, comments on sections 1 and 2 would be appreciated. Okay, moving right along, our next item on the agenda is, so every 5 years, I can't believe it's been 5 years, but we have an agreement with Dutchess County that referrals on minor applications, what they've deemed to be minor applications, would not be necessary for their review. And the time is near where we have to extend that intermunicipal agreement, as have our colleagues in other municipalities. And so it authorizes the county to enter into such an agreement with the local municipalities to sort of avoid these unnecessary small applications. Are there any questions for any of the town board members before we go ahead and take up resolution number 52? Is that where we are, Deanna? Have we lost Deanna?
On here, 53.
53. Thank you, Deanna. Okay. All right, very good. And I so move resolution number 53, authorizing the execution of an intermunicipal agreement with Dutchess County regarding planning referrals. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Bill Hamel. All in favor, Christine Kane.
Aye.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Okay. Bill Hamel.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, next
Bill
item.
O'Neill, aye.
Did I forget you, Bill?
Aye.
I thought you were second, but okay.
We just have too many bills.
There are too many bills. Too little time. Okay, so next item for the folks at home. There are very few silver linings with what's going on economically, but in an effort to once again try to be more efficient with your tax dollars, we have yet another opportunity to refinance some of the debt that was taken out. In this case, it's the 2011 bonds when the highway garage was constructed. And because of the economic slowdown, interest rates have declined such that we potentially have an opportunity to save money over the remaining estimated term of those bonds. And we've received some estimates. Very much like when you go to apply for your mortgage, we haven't been able to lock in a rate, but the savings are such that not only would the comptroller sign off on this, but they represent, significantly above and beyond if interest rates were to remain where they are today, or certainly where they were when this estimate was created for us. We anticipate that we will have some savings once we refinance this. Otherwise, we won't accept the deal. And those savings could be in excess of $100,000. So that is what is called a refunding bond resolution number 54, and it relates to the debt associated with the highway garage. Any questions about this, Christine Shaw? Anything that we should emphasize here? Basically, this will be going out to the market, and interested companies will bid on the new debt associated with this project.
So I would just note that the town has a registered municipal financial advisor who assists them in evaluating these kinds of things. That's who prepared these financial reports that you see attached to the bond resolution. They are not the buyer. They are an independent advisor to the town. So they've reviewed the financials here and given you, based on what they see as current interest rates, an estimate of what your savings could be. It's not a guarantee of that, it's an estimate. So when we create the bond resolution, typically a refunding bond resolution has an authorization for an amount somewhat in excess of what their estimates are, because their estimates are based on what would be the market today. So markets move, as you know, every day.
Right.
And so when we go to the comptroller will be looking for a minimum amount of savings. And that's part of the process here, is that the town, after approving a resolution by the town board, the financial advisor assists with marketing and other components of the financing. And then once it's been priced, so we have final numbers, we take that to the comptroller and seek their final approval before we can close. So that's what this process involves.
Yes, thank you, Chris. And we've been advised by our financial advisor that with our very strong credit rating, AA, that we are likely to get some, really terrific rates out there in the market. So any other questions for the town board members? Okay. Resolution number 54, authorizing the issuance of refunding bonds of the town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $990,000 pursuant to local finance law, and delegating certain powers in connection therewith to the town supervisor. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. If there are no further questions or discussion, all in favor, Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Bill O'Neill.
Aye.
Bill Hamill.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. The next item on the agenda that we have is our reports. And Bill Hamill, we heard about the Water District, the annual report. Just a quick update of what's happening in September of 2020, October.
Things are relatively consistent. They're still, the pumping amounts are consistent. I'm always happy to report that the water quality, there's no chloroform that's been detected in the testing, and the turbidity is very low. The only issue that in their report is Henry Boyd, who's a contractor, they owes us a proposal on well level monitoring to monitor the level of water in our wells. And we're also Ty and Bond, which is one of the engineering firms, is preparing a spec for us, for the health department actually, to look at and make sure that the way that they've solved their problem about the wells turning on and off, which really the way it works is that there's something that checks the water pressure in the tank. And it starts the pumps when it reaches a certain level, and then there's a timer that turns it off. And it's been working, but they need to get something from Ty and Bond to run that to the health department. So that's really about it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next report that we have is dog control. Bill, would you like to do that as well?
Oh yeah, it'll be a quick one. Really for September, what they report is an increase in wildlife calls. And basically they direct those calls, whatever the wildlife is, they are directing them to the appropriate organizations, whether it's DEC or whomever. They did respond to a few feral cat calls, and they performed what they call a TNR, which is trap, neuter, and release on 2 cats. And I will say that when we met with the Humane Division at the Dutchess SPCA, I was shocked to hear the number of feral cats in Dutchess County is rather astronomical. So I'm not surprised. I am surprised that the number of instances where they're having to do these TNRs is actually relatively low here.
Okay. And Bill, would you highlight number 6 there? I think it's important for folks to know that there was a vaccinated and licensed dog that bit
somebody.
One of our mail carriers, and understandably, with perhaps us moving into another phase of being relegated to home more, to just be mindful of the fact that there will be increasing number of packages and mail coming to our doors, and we want to make sure that our dogs are in fact within the fencing, or they are under control with a leash, and to monitor the safety of those approaching the house. So
it's not just being on the leash, but making sure the leash is an appropriate length to prevent an attack.
Exactly. Okay, very good. Next report we have Assessor's office, the Assessor Reports, working on a couple of Article 7 petitions, looking at increasing sales within the village and the township. A lot of calls related to purchasing properties and updating files. For the month of September, there were 28 sales, 18 in the town of Red Hook, 5 in the village, and 5 in the village of Tivoli. And the assessor acknowledges the support of the various departments in town hall. Okay, next report. Building and zoning. Who would like to do that? Bill O'Neill, would you like to do that one?
Well, for the month of October of 2020, there were 30 permits, 61 inspections, 12 CDs and CCs, and 2 complaints were considered by the building department. And a total of $9,503 in revenue was obtained by the department.
Okay, they've been busy. They had a couple months there where things were very slow, and now things are busy before the winter sets in, which apparently is going to start any moment now. Next report. All right, and those are all of the permits that were issued and
inspections.
And inspections and certificate of occupancy. And Bill, while you're doing reports, could you give us the next page, Matthew?
I can't really read it from my phone.
All right, well, let's scroll it up towards the last page, Matthew, for Bill, so we could summarize. This is the monthly police report, and as you can see, it's a fairly extensive report. And if you could blow that up, Matt. There we go. At the bottom there, blow it up a little more for Bill so he can see.
Well, for the reporting period.
Okay.
Just go up one more.
Matt. No, you're scrolling the other way. There you go.
For the reporting period, there were a total of 138 incidents reported to the police, which is quite large. And the total arrests were 6, and tickets issued were 31. So they're beginning to come back after many months of not issuing any tickets.
Okay. And all of the detail, you should know we get these reports on a monthly basis from the village police. We contract with the village police for a portion of their services. Next department report. Christine, Greenways and Trails. I think you're mute there, Christine.
Well, the meeting was canceled because of the mandatory social distancing. And so the meeting will be held in the following months.
Okay. All right. All right, we have Christine came back on with the audio. Next report, recreation. Matt, could you blow that up? Before we start with the recreation report, I just want to say that we've had several letters, several pieces of correspondence, a few calls about there was a procession that came through not only our town, but several towns this weekend. In fact, this last weekend, there were 3 processions. We were made aware of one, which we weren't sure whether or not it was the one that occurred on Saturday or Sunday, but in fact, it occurred on Sunday, a fairly large procession that ended up concluding in the recreation park. And we would like to remind folks that you are required, if you are going to have a procession above and beyond, I believe it's 20 cars according to our code, to get a permit. And the purpose of the permit is so that we can identify the characteristics of the procession, how many cars, where you'll be traversing through the community, so that we can, assess any potential negative impacts to traffic and the like, and certainly overwhelming our infrastructure if it were to be an extraordinarily large procession. We had complaints from folks who were utilizing the recreation park that this procession or caravan concluded. I believe it was Sunday afternoon. We had a police officer or two there at the conclusion of the caravan, and we understand that there were some folks who were upset at the noise level and the sort of overwhelming nature of that procession and taking up most of the parking associated with the south parking lot. So we would ask you to please make sure that you apply for one of these permits so that we can work with you to ensure that everyone can enjoy the rec park, and that we can acknowledge your procession and make sure that is appropriate in scale and size, and does not have negative impacts upon others who would like to enjoy that public space. So I believe it would be prudent of us. We do have a policy if you want to reserve, for example, the pavilion at Rec Park, if you want to reserve one of our fields at Rec Park, you have to coordinate that with the rec director and the rec commission. We would ask you similarly if you would like to utilize the parking lot or any other portion for a gathering, that you be cognizant of the fact that you need to go through the rec department, and we'll look at our policy and develop a permit specifically for that. But in the case of COVID, that you also take a look at the requirements that both the state and county health departments have with regard to social distancing and the like. We have lots of signs up in our park, and if you feel that we need more signs, please do let us know. So if you are going to hold a procession, if you would like that procession to occur in our township, please be sure to let us know and apply for a permit. Okay, did anyone else want to speak on that topic before I go ahead and talk about the recreation park?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, and I can give the report. It's a pretty extensive report as usual. Our rec committee, our rec department continues to achieve an enormous amount of work on a very regular basis. And so just to summarize, all of the facilities at Rec Park East are seeing continuous and good use. The basketball courts, the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, the fields, etc. So, and you can actually, for a while we were not taking applications to use the pavilion, but now you can apply to use the pavilion. So that's good for everybody to know. Mowing continues to take up a big chunk of the team's time, particularly over at Rec Park West, to try to keep up with how fast the grass is growing and trying to get that whole area, in a regular mowing schedule. And still a few odds and ends, I guess I would say, that they're taking care of with all the big projects that we've finished up. So we're working on pulling that together. Still waiting for the delivery of the new storage shed that we need for the some of the equipment that goes with Challenger Field. And The bathrooms are open, still a few odds and ends over there that being taken care of. Again, I just would note that there are, I think it's 15 different hand sanitizer stations set up throughout the park so that people can use those as part of our COVID-19 precautions while you're using and visiting the park. And we do, of course, continue with the social distancing and requirements that we have in place already.
Okay. Thank you very much, Christine. Matt, we're ready for the next report. Red Church Cemetery, Bill.
Yeah, well, we had a walk through the Red Church the other day, and John Kuhn has reported successfully on the upkeep of the cemetery. It's been well done and it's in beautiful condition. And there are issues to be addressed, but one of them has to do with getting our money from the state to help maintain the cemetery, but that's still a work in progress. But otherwise, the men who are maintaining the cemetery are doing a wonderful job, and the cemetery is in good shape.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, we're getting lots of compliments on the Rec Park and the Red Church Cemetery properties, and we're incredibly thankful for all the workers and what they're doing there. It looks better than it's ever looked, and getting a lot of visitors. So thanks again. Okay, next up, Matt. Jacob, tree preservation.
Yes. So tree committee continues to be conducting all the business via email and phone. So there's a tree order for the fall planting that's scheduled for delivery this upcoming Monday. So 6 trees will be planted at Mill Road School and 3 at St. John's Reformed Church. There's a master plan that's being developed for additional plantings at Mill Road School in the future. As we talked about at the last meeting, Red Hook was not selected for the urban forestry tree grant that was submitted last month. So just reiterating that. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. And finally, Eric Rogers, who's an ISA certified arborist and owner of Roots Up in Kingston, contacted the commission several weeks ago and offered to treat the new trees on Pitcher Lane with a biological fertilizer at no expense, which is really great. So he said he travels down the road because he has clients in the area. He's watched the project over the past couple of years and wanted to do something to help the trees. So this week he treated 34 trees with a fertilizer, and we're obviously very thankful for this gift. So we just want to acknowledge Eric Rogers and thank him for that.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Next up, we have correspondence. We received some correspondence from Susan Rollmeyer. She would like to make us aware that another mural in our community has been painted over, this one in the rear of the library at the Children's Learning Garden. And she has a detailed explanation of how that mural came to be and the funding and her objection to it being removed. And she would like to start a larger conversation about public art in our community. And obviously there's been a lot of talk about murals in Red Hook, and I think that would probably be a good idea if we as a community did have a conversation about public art. So that's the correspondence that we had related to that topic. And is that, I believe that may conclude the agenda for this evening. Did anybody else have anything for tonight before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you all very much.
Actually, Robert, wait, I just want to mention one quick thing.
Sure.
People may be aware that the Village of Tivoli is undergoing a large
Yeah.
construction project having to do with their replacing water lines and a new water tower.
Yeah.
And so they are working on parts of the water main replacement now that has been underway, and they have been working on Woods Road, and it's going to be moving on to Broadway in the main part of the business district. So if you're heading to Tivoli this week and possibly into next week, please be prepared for some, one-way or alternate lane traffic and parking restrictions.
Very good. Thank you, Christine. And that infrastructure project will be lasting for many, many months. The WPA 1937 water and sewer infrastructure is being replaced in the village of Tivoli. Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? If not, we would like to once again remind everybody, whatever we can do to limit COVID in our community, we ask everybody's assistance. We remind you that there are many businesses that'll be looking for our support once again as it becomes cold and it'd be difficult to go into some indoor spaces. And of course, we would encourage you to exercise your voice and vote between now and Tuesday, November 3rd. So wishing all of you health and happiness. I'd like to make a motion that we conclude tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
Good night.